Alright, welcome back. This is part 2 of my series for the Bard, episode 2 of the D&D 5th edition classes. So, in the first one I talked about all the features that every single Bard would get regardless, but in this part I want to talk about the Bardic colleges. So there's two different colleges. There is the College of Lore and the College of Valor. So we'll talk about those. So we have, the College of Lore, which is just kind of your stereotypical Bard. It's hard to see here, but this is actually Debus from the 3rd edition iconic characters. And then there is the College of Valor, which is more of your, martial-oriented type of bards. So they're like the Scalds, I guess, if you want to think of them as that. So they're the ones that are more like the barbarian tribes. If there was a bard, that'd be the one. So, and yeah, those are the only two bard minis that I actually own. But we'll talk about each one and the different features that they get, and we'll see, if by the end of this, if you may actually be more interested in playing a bard than you ever thought possible. All right, so starting off with the different bardic colleges. So we have the College of Lore. So this is kind of the bard type that has been around for at least the last few editions. These are the ones who deal in, studying history, knowledge, things of that nature. So they're more akin to the Bard of 3rd edition than the Bard of 2nd edition. So their abilities, they start off at 3rd levels, where you choose which one of these two colleges you want to be a part of. And at 3rd level, if you join the College of Lore, you gain proficiency with 3 skills of your choice. So you actually ended up having 3 skills to begin with, so there'll be 6 skills total, plus 1 from your, any from your race if you have them, as well as, your background, which usually gives you 2. So that, could give you, 8 or possibly 9 skills that you're actually proficient in. So if you're looking to use skills, this will definitely be the way to go. At 3rd level, they also get cutting words. You learned how to use your wit to distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll, you can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of Bardic Inspiration, rolling the die and subtracting the number from the creature's roll. So in this case, if you're a bard, say your fighter's getting attacked and he's pretty low in hit points, you decide you still have 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration left, you burn that. The monster goes to roll damage, you roll your d6 against it, and you subtract whatever you get on the d6 from the damage they would deal, or the attack roll, or the skill check. So you can choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the DM determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fail, or before the creature deals its damage. So if it's a damage situation, you have to say, I'm going to use this before the DM rolls the dice. So, again, as a DM, you have to be a bit careful and letting the players kind of use their abilities. So if you go to hit, maybe pause for a second and just look around the table and make sure that the bard's not going to try to use this ability. The creature is immune to this if they can't hear you, or if it's immune to being charmed. So there are certain things that, cannot be charmed, or if they, don't have the ability to hear, then it's not going to affect them. So you're probably not going to be too useful against constructs and things like that. At 6th level, they get additional magical secrets, which is similar to the magical secrets they get at 10th level. And they call it additional, which is kind of funny because you actually will get this first. But it's the same thing. So you can see, you learn 2 spells of your choice from any class. The spell you choose must be the level you can cast, as shown on the Bard table, or a cantrip. The chosen spells count as Bard spells for you, but don't count against the number of Bard spells you know. So at 6th level, you would normally have 9 spells that you know. So it's actually up from 5th level, so at 5th level you have 8. So you would choose 1 Bard spell and then 2 spells from any other list. So if you really want to take advantage of the magical secrets ability that the Bard gets, then this one may be a one to go into too, because it goes from being 6 spells of other classes up to a total of 8. And then of course at 14th level you get peerless skill. So starting at 14th level, when you make an ability check, you can expend 1 use of your Bardic Inspiration, roll the Bardic Inspiration die and add the number rolled to your ability check. So you can use this you can choose to do this after you roll the die, or ability check, but like the other things, it's before the DM actually says, no, that's not enough. So again, it all kind of comes down, and I've said this before, and I don't really want to beat the dead horse, but it really comes down to the DM, not being so quick to say, sorry, that misses, or it fails, or doesn't succeed, or, things like that. And of course, there's points where you're gonna know whether it succeeds or fails. If you try to attack somebody, for example, if you give Bardic Inspiration to somebody and they make an attack roll, in one round and they get a total of 16 and it misses, but then somebody gets a 17 and it hits, the person would know if they got a 16 before they got their inspiration die that they did technically miss. But as long as the DM doesn't confirm, then you can certainly use it. I like this version of the Bard, but I don't know if this is the one that I would personally choose. But if you're into the skill system, if you really want to get as many spells as you can, then this is definitely the one to go through. The second one is the College of Valor. So, Bards of the College of Valor are, daring skalds. So they're more of your tribal kind of barbarous type of bard. So if you think of the barbarian tribes of Icewind Dale in the Forgotten Realms novels, they would have bards from the College of Valor, which isn't a formal college necessarily, it's just a form of training. So if you pick this at 3rd level, you get bonus proficiencies. So instead of having the 3 skills, you actually gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. So, this may be better than multi-classing as a bard fighter. You may just want to take College of Valor instead. At 3rd level, you also get combat inspiration. So you learn to inspire others in battle. A creature that has Bardic Inspiration die from you can roll that die and add the number rolled to weapon damage roll it just made. Alternatively, when an attack roll is made against the creature, you can use its reaction roll to roll the Bardic Inspiration die and add the number rolled to its AC. So if you give, say, your fighter in the party Bardic Inspiration, they can use it to actually add to damage instead of just an attack roll, skill check, or saving throw. And if they're being attacked and they still haven't used the Bardic Inspiration that you gave them, they can burn through that as their reaction, which they only get 1 reaction per round. And they can add the D6 or D8, D10, D12, whichever point they're at, and add that to their AC. So it could potentially save them from taking a hit. Okay, so they can use this ability for defense, after seeing the roll for the attack, but not knowing if it hits or misses. So, it's a situation where if they roll a 8 on the dice, you may want to use that ability just in case they have the adds, or if it's something that gets a lot of adds. At 6th level, they get the ability to do an extra attack. So if you use the attack action to attack with a weapon, you can attack twice instead of just once whenever you take the attack action. So if you're looking for a more martial character, then this is definitely the way to go, because they'll get that second attack, which bards normally never get. And then lastly, at 14th level, they get battle magic. So at 14th level, you have mastered the art of weaving spellcasting and weapons use into a single harmonious act. When you use your action to cast a bard spell, you can make 1 weapon attack as a bonus action. So keep in mind, any spell that these guys know is considered a bard spell. So even if they, lob a fireball, they could still make a weapon attack. Of course, they probably won't be attacking the thing they lobbed the fireball at unless, they're able to, I guess, move in between, because you can take your move action as well. But I like this version of the Bard, I think, the most. It's something that I think they kind of needed, because, the ones with all the skills is great, and it's probably different from the 3rd edition style, but I found that in 3rd edition, even if you had a ton of different skills that you could know, you never seemed to have enough. They get pretty decent skills already, but with this one, you get not only the ability to cast spells, not only the ability to have those skills, but you also can, attack, and you can wear armor and things of that nature. So I think personally, this is the style of Bard I would probably try first, but I think you can't really go wrong with either of them, and I really take my hat off to 5th edition for finally creating a Bard that people are going to want to play. The 4th edition Bard was actually pretty decent as well, because a lot of their abilities revolved around doing damage as well, so they weren't something that was just purely going and making everybody else better, where you just kind of sat there and didn't really get to do anything yourself. So, bards were always useful, but they weren't really fun to play. And this one, you can not only be useful, you can not only help everybody out, but you can also finally, take it to the monsters as well. You can hit them with your weapons, and you're going to be good at it. You can throw spells at them. You can learn attack spells from different classes, or you can learn utilitarian spells. Say you want to be able to teleport. Well, now you can do that as a bard instead of having to just, do it as a wizard or sorcerer. So I think that, they definitely went a long way with the 5th edition bard. It's actually one of the first classes I really looked at and was really impressed by. I mean, I always liked the barbarian, although, I think they could have done better than what they did in 3rd edition, and, they certainly did in 5th. But the bard came a long way, in my opinion. So, I hope that this, if you're watching this video and you never really liked the idea of playing a bard before, I hope this kind of changes things a little bit for you, and at least will give you cause to stop and actually read the bard and see if there's something that you may want to try with it, because I think that this is probably the single most improved class in all of D&D history. So, again, I hope this helped. Thank you very much for watching, YouTube. I plan to have another video out later this week about the cleric. It'll probably be closer to the middle of the week, or, mid to late of the week. It really depends on work schedules and stuff like that. But, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the one on the barbarian, so I'm hoping that this one is even more useful, because it's probably not a class that a lot of people were looking at. So thank you very much for watching, YouTube. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you check out the video on the cleric when it comes out.